Great. All right, so this is the topic, the best kept tech secret, how to really make money with 3D printing. Yeah, let's start with a short intro. Who am I? My name is Robin Huizing. I'm working at Octon 3D printing software company. I'm running my own company, Admio, company in 3D printing education. And before that, I worked at Additive Industries, also 3D printing company that builds metal 3D printers. And I worked at other companies also. So in short, I'm building my career in 3D printing, super exciting for me. And I've seen a lot of applications, and there's one thing that I would like to focus on during this presentation. Let's start with having a look at 3D printing. Where is 3D printing now? What is happening in this industry? And what is happening at a consumer level? So what do you see as a consumer from 3D printing? And this is what you can run into if you are in a high school, university, public library. This is really what you see often as a consumer. And this is simple technology, simple 3D printers that are small, very affordable, and they print with standard plastics like PLA or PET. So standard plastics that you will see around you in your normal daily life. So the applications that are printed with this are also low value applications. So you see toys, baby Yoda, you see here small trinkets to put on your desktop, stuff like that. So this is not really exciting. It's good that a lot of people have heard from 3D printing and maybe see 3D printing, but this is not really adding a lot of value. So let's have a look at the other side of the spectrum. So this is really 3D printing for consumers. And let's have a look at 3D printing for professionals, or 3D printing for companies. This is where I've worked in the last few years. And what you see is this is definitely the other side of the spectrum, because this is a side of 3D printing where as a consumer, you don't really get in contact with. So you see industrial technologies, very expensive technologies, expensive machines, expensive materials, mostly metals, but also engineering plastics, composites, and also the technologies are very complex. And that's also the reason why you don't really see these type of technologies in, for example, high schools or in public libraries, because it's just way too expensive and too complex. So you see technologies like this in, for example, medical industry, in automotive, also Formula One racing. You see it a lot in aerospace. So here you see an aerospace application. And the reason is, if you look at aerospace, for example, the reason is that if you build a plane or if you build a rocket, every gram that you send up into space is extremely expensive. So if you can create or recreate, redesign and recreate rocket parts, for example, and if you can save, let's say, 20 grams, that already has a huge value. And the same goes for planes, for example, because planes fly on average for, let's say, 20 years. And every gram that is on that plane will come at a cost because of kerosene. So the same goes for Formula One, for example. Cars need to be as light as possible. So that is why 3D printing is used, because you can make very complex parts, you can remove material, and the costs are high. But with applications like this, it's easier to justify those costs. All right. So what's next? What are the opportunities here? Because that's the reason that I'm giving this presentation. I've seen a lot of consumer applications and consumer technologies. I worked with it, but I also saw the other side. So I also worked a lot in the industry with companies like BMW, SpaceX. So I really have seen the full spectrum. And there's something that I've seen and realized that is not really utilized a lot yet. And that is really a combination. So what if you take consumers or small startups or single entrepreneurs, and what if you take the professional technologies with the high-end materials like metals, precious metals, engineering plastics, and what if you combine those? And the result is that you get low costs, because that's the realization I got. You can take those expensive, complex professional technologies, and as a consumer or as a small startup, you can use those technologies. And the trick is to not to buy those machines and not to learn yourself how to work with those technologies, but to work with service providers. So a service provider is comparable with a copy shop, but then instead of 2D, it's for 3D. So you can design something yourself, or you can let somebody else design something for you. You see a few examples here, eyewear, for example, or other consumer products. And then you can print those at service providers. So then you have the benefits of not having to do large investments, but you can still utilize those technologies. And the other thing that's important is online communities. And if you combine those, so if you combine entrepreneurial consumers, small startups, with those very powerful technologies and online communities, then there's a huge opportunity to earn a lot of money, a lot more than if you would buy simple plastic 3D printers and rent out capacity, for example, things I see often, or printing trinkets and selling those. So this is really a much bigger opportunity. All right, so that's very interesting, but can we see a few examples? Of course. That's always good to show you how does this work in practice. So this is a company, Rogue and the Wolf. I've seen this application hundreds of times. It's printed a lot, and I can tell you that the jewelry you see here is 3D printed with professional technologies in engineering plastics, polyamide, and you see that they are branded. This is really a company that is really well branded. It is not my style, but you can imagine that if your style is like the Gothic style, that this is really appealing to you. And if you can buy a ring like this for, let's say, $17 or $25, that's a very reasonable price. And if you turn that around, I can tell you that creating a ring like this will cost probably 1/10 of the price. And an even bigger benefit is that you can use those service providers to only 3D print those rings once they are ordered. So take a minute to understand what I'm telling you here. You don't have to have anything on stock. You don't have to pre-order. You don't have to invest anything. You can sell things to customers, and they are only produced when they are sold. So that's a very big benefit. And the other side is the online community. So here you have the store, you have the products, the business model, the business model is good. You have a very high profit margin. And here's the online community. So you see that they really are have done a great job in branding and building a community. You see they have 650K followers. And you can imagine if only a small percentage of those followers buy jewelry every now and then, then you're able to generate a lot of revenue with a very small team. All right, so another example, and for me, I've worked a lot with this application. I've printed a lot of those applications. This is really cool. This is an online configurator. It's called Hero Forge, and you can, again, this is not really my style, but I just like the whole model. Here you can create your own little miniature, and you can create an elf or an orc or whatever. You can choose the hair, the pose, the colors, the clothes, everything. You can completely customize it. And that's a cool thing. You can even create it in full color. And again, as soon as this is created, you can order it for, let's say, I don't know, $30, $50, I don't know. And then as soon as you've configured this, created this, and ordered it, then it is printed. So again, you as a business, as a startup, being Hero Forge, for example, you don't have to make investments. You don't have to buy printers. You don't have to buy materials. Nothing of that. You just create a platform where your customers can configure these miniatures, and then they are created for a certain price, and you decide what the markup is. So you say, okay, well, we can print those for, let's say, $20, and we will sell those for, let's say, $60. So then you have $40 profit margin on one miniature. Purely as an example, I don't know the real costs. I can make an estimation, but they have a good profit margin. And then the online community part. So this is a Kickstarter campaign. And as you can see, I funded this campaign not because I wanted to have one of those miniatures, but just because I really like what Hero Forge is doing. And you see that they raised more than $3 million. That is a serious amount of money with a very small team. And you see that almost 40,000 people backed this campaign for $40 or more. So yeah, take a moment to realize these numbers. $3 million. This is for a very small team of only a few people that just love to do gaming, board games, and that's their thing. That's their community. That's their network. They do what they love. They create beautiful things, or better yet, they give their community the opportunity to create beautiful, customized miniatures, and they generate a lot of revenue, and seriously a lot of revenue. All right, so another example. Yeah, this is a little bit more my style. This is something I will buy for my girlfriend, for example. This is beautiful jewelry. This is designed by an architect, a female architect, and again, the model is perfect. This is created in precious metals, so in silver or gold, and those are really sterling silver and what is it, 14K gold. So really the same materials you would buy jewelry at a jewelry store. So this is really high-end materials, and again, they are only created once they are ordered. So this is really a beautiful model. And if you look at the community part, the online community part, you see she has 50K followers. She's an architect, and apart from that, she's a jewelry designer. And this is working really well. And also because you can make use of your existing following base, your existing followers, and you don't have to have any machines in the house, or you don't have to make large investments. You can just set this up next to your full-time job. That's something that I do, for example. All right. So what if you wanted to do this yourself? How do you start? Um, I just made an overview with 6 points that are important indicators for you if you have a good application. All right, so let's have a look. The upper four are about the application itself, and the lower two are about the market, about your audience. All right, so if we look at the application, the size is important. And I won't go into detail too much. But the thing is, 3D printing is an expensive technology on average, especially if you use professional 3D printing systems. And the size is a very big factor in the price. So as sort of a general rule, if you can hold something in your hand, if something is the size of a golf ball or smaller, then you have a pretty high chance that you can print this for a reasonable price. And of course, that depends on the application, but that's just to give you an example. If you want to print something the size of a chair or a bike, then it gets really, really expensive really fast. So that is something I would not advise. That's really for very, very specific applications. And high complexity. So also, if you look at the jewelry that I've just showed you, this is really complex. And I think it's beautifully designed, but there's also a reason that you can create this through 3D printing and not through conventional manufacturing. And that is also, this is just one of the big benefits of 3D printing, that you can create very complex structures and shapes without adding to the costs. So that is really something you want to utilize. And then the large variety. So as I said, one of the biggest benefits is that you can print based on the orders. So they are custom made. And that means that, let's say, if you wanted to print rings, you can create 100 different rings, and you can offer your customers those rings in 10 different sizes. And instead of having 1,000 different rings on stock, you don't have anything on stock. So that's really a big benefit. Added value, there are other reasons that you wanted to, that you can use 3D printing. You have sustainability, for example. You can use personalization or customization. Every benefit that you can use is good. It's good if you use a special technology like 3D printing, that you can add value for your customer. And it's important to have a large market. That's simple. If you really, it's good to have a niche because it's easier to connect with your audience. But if your market is too small, then it's hard to make money. That's just simple. So you also see like the board game market is very big. The jewelry market is very big. That's hundreds of millions of people that are interested in your application. And if you get a small percentage of that, that is enough to generate a lot of revenue. That's the model in short. And digital native. So it's I would not advise to cater to senior people or people in developing countries, because it's important that your customers are digital native and they use their phone and they are very comfortable with buying things online. Those are 6 important factors to keep in mind if you want to create a 3D printing startup. All right. Well, that was a fast and short presentation. If you want to know more, just add me on LinkedIn or follow me on Instagram. Always feel free to send me a message, and if I can help you out, I will help you out.